Welcome Al to the Green Gauge.
Great to be here, Tom. Thank you.
And you've spent decades helping people understand money. What first made you realize that personal financial choices and finance is not just about numbers, but about people's lives, fears, and their choices?
Well, I'm the poster child for that. Early in my career, I became an accountant, certified public accountant, and a personal financial specialist. But what I did, I was a tax accountant at first, and I was really great at helping people save money in your taxes and plan their taxes well. But I didn't really understand finance. It might sound odd, but I understood taxes, but not finance. And what I did, I was an entrepreneur. I started my own accounting firm, got into real estate, got into real estate management, got into many firms that were operating, and I didn't watch my cash flow. I made stupid decisions around cash flow. I made stupid decisions around partners, and the economy turned, and all of a sudden, I was on the verge of bankruptcy. I had 6 or 7 real estate projects that were going under. My accounting firm was not doing well, and I was desperate. So I remember I was brought up not to ask for help. Suck it up, do it on your own. Asking for help is a weakness. But I finally had to ask someone for help, and they referred me to a couple of people, and one of them was a personal financial advisor. He's a CPA, and he basically sat me down and said, "Al, what's your issue?" And I said, "Well, I just want to know how to give personal financial advice because I was after another product to sell in my company. I just wanted to get income in." He says, "Well, it doesn't work that way." He said, "I will tell you everything I do, but let's do your financial plan first." So he had me sit down and write all my numbers, what I had in assets, what I owed. And I was depressed before, but seeing the condition I was in, I was really, really impressed, or depressed rather. And I thought to myself, I'm not going to be able to retire. I'm not going to be able to quit working someday. So what he said, now this is what people feel like when they come to you. They feel like they're out of control. They don't know how to handle their cash flow. They made stupid decisions and they don't know what to do. And he said, now that you know how they feel, let's help you get out of this. So he showed me really great personal finance and how to make the best financial decisions. And I was so enthralled. I went back to my partners in my firm and said, we've never been able to change a person's life by offering a better tax return. But we can change a person's life by making sure that they make the best financial decisions all the time and help them along the way. So that's when I started I built my company, my accounting firm. I changed into a wealth management company. Went out there and taught, and that's what I was doing for about 35 years before I sold that.
And K Club has this very human promise, which is build wealth, but still live fully now. Where did that philosophy come from for you?
Well, when I sold my company some years ago, I found out that my mission and the company, which began to be a positive, powerful, successful influence in a person's life, did not end when I sold the company. I still wanted to do that. So I wasn't sure how to go about doing it, but a couple of years ago, a behavioral scientist, Amin Burman, approached me. He's in his 30s. He lived in the New York area, so did I. And he said, "Al, you have great books. You've written a couple books. Your website's great." And he said, "They've helped me." And he said, "I want to give this to the world. I want other people to be helped, just like you've helped me." And so I asked him what he wanted to do. He said he wanted to do an app. We started having some conversations. I said, "Well, let's do it together." So we established K Club about a year and a half ago, and we put together a powerful app that really mirrors my work in the financial industry for the last 35 years. It includes even we use AI a lot. There's even a chat bot, Ask Albert, that we just load my information into that, not the universe. And so when you ask a question, you get an answer like I would to any one of my clients. But again, what we did is we started this because it was to really continue my mission and his mission too, is to help tens of thousands, maybe millions, to basically make the best financial decision but you don't have to sacrifice your life along the way. Making better financial decisions means you can reach your goals, but also live the life you want.
And you built and exited a financial firm before moving into Kate Club. What did that chapter teach you about freedom, control, and the life people are actually trying to build?
Well, it taught me many things. For one, it taught me when I first started the company that I'm an entrepreneur. I really can't work for someone else. I like being in control of my own destiny. That's one. It taught me basically how to handle cash flow of a business as well as personally. I did it very badly before, which is why I was on the verge of bankruptcy. But now I became a master of it. I knew how to run a business. I knew how to watch my cash flow, how we sold product, how we our expenses. And so, and again, what I did, it may sound silly, but when I was a young man in my 20s and 30s, I didn't know that you could predict or you could project in the future when you wanted to retire or be financially independent. I just thought it happened. You just keep on building wealth and it happened. And I realized you can sit down and calculate this. And so I was in my about 30, 32 at the time when I started converting all this. I decided to be financially independent by the time I was 50. And I got there by age 48. And if I could do it, anyone can. So it's a matter of knowing what you want in the future, how you want to live, what your cash flow is today, and then what cash flow do you need to live the lifestyle you want now, as well as save for that future goal when you want to be financially independent. So I learned that you can determine when you are financially independent, when you have to go to work. When I was 48, that was the day I walked in my office and I didn't have to be there. It was my choice. And I continued to be there for another 20 years. But there's a lot of less stress and anxiety when you're going to work and you don't have to be there, or it's your choice to be there. And that's what I wanted to give other people. That's what it taught me.
Thank you for that. And your work seems to push against the idea that money management has to feel punishing. What do you think so many people associate finance with guilt, shame, or restriction?
Well, there's a few reasons. One, it's for one thing, it's all in your head. There are what I call emotional obstacles and practical obstacles. Emotional obstacles people have is that they start with the conversation in their head, I'm bad with money. I don't know finance. Or I don't trust someone or whatever, or, someone's going to charge me too much or whatever, or I can't get the cash flow I need. So we have bad conversations. So one is to start dealing with that. Now, there are other practical obstacles too. No one, in my experience, no one actually sits down and says, this is the life I want to live, even if I can't today, in life in the future, and how much is it going to cost me? And then, okay, do I have that cash flow coming in or not? And most of the time you don't. I didn't have it when I first began. So what you do is you begin to find ways to bring that cash flow in. Maybe it's another job. Maybe it's getting another skill. Maybe it's starting the business. But now you know what you have to do to get there. So to me, it was about understanding and teaching that, and putting it into practice.
And you often use the idea of a spending plan rather than budget. Why does that language shift? Why does that matter?
Well, that's another part of your people dealing with shame and guilt and all that. If you mention a budget to anyone, they sort of cringe. Most people do not like a budget because they feel it's forced on them and it's a restriction on their spending, and it's meant to shame, or it's meant to basically force them to give up things in their life. So I begin the other way. I said, forget the budget. Let's have a spending plan. You create a spending plan. What can you spend on with the amount of money that is coming in? You decide what you want to spend on. Now, doing that, and then them sitting down and thinking, okay, this is the life I want to live, and actually costing that out. What rent do I have to pay, or mortgage, or travel, whatever? And then you see one thing. One, you have a spending plan, which again, you're calling the shots on. And I'm trying to make it easy, by the way. I only have 4 or 5 categories. Like, what do you have to pay every month? What's discretionary, like food and stuff like that? What's fun? and what do you have to save to get to your financial goals. So what if you basically make up a spending plan, and then with today's technology, use an app. It doesn't have to be our app, the K Club app. It can be any one that's a budgeting app, and have it tied into your accounts and have it electronically going into these categories in real time. What it does, it makes a budget. It makes spending plan easier to put together, to follow, and then maybe take the next step. Well, this is what I'm spending today, but what do I really need to live the life I want, and then to be financially independent at some time in the future? So I think spending plan is great because most people don't want to do a budget. When I was doing planning with a lot of people, most people wanted it as simple as possible, like what comes in, what goes out, or 2 or 3 or 5 categories. And then you had once in a while the really anal person or engineer or accountant that really wanted to keep track of every penny. But I learned that they may have wanted it, but their spouse didn't. So very few over the years wanted that. But I think you put things in people's control. Budgets tend to say, well, I'm going to tell you what to do.
Very true. And is there something that most people misunderstand about cash flow?
What do they misunderstand about it? It may sound kind of odd, but what they don't understand is that they control it. They determine how much cash flow they're going to have. And why do I say that? Because of how you spend, how you earn money. If you decide to do this and you see you're short of cash flow, well, you have choices to make. You can either live less or you can make up more cash flow. You can get a side gig, work for Uber or Lyft, be a real estate. You can do that. You may leave it. You go for another job, or you may start to be educated in skills that gives you a higher position in the company you're at. But if you don't know what's needed, you don't know what to do. So you get control of what comes in, comes out, and what you need first. And after that, you make the decisions. You will decide what you want to do. And that's exactly what happened to me. That's exactly what happens to all the people that I work with. And after that, it's their choice. They don't do what I want. I help them put together spending plans, show them how to do these things, and then they make the decisions. So I think that they don't understand that they really determine every decision they make daily has an impact on their cash flow. And that has, over a long period of time with compounding, a tremendous impact on their wealth and whether they're going to retire someday or work forever or live the lifestyle they want.
And if someone feels financially stuck, what is usually the first hidden source of clarity that you can help them uncover?
Okay, so one thing, if you're stuck, which most people can be because finance initially is overwhelming to them because they're not taught this in school, first thing to do is ask for help. There's always someone out there that basically look at someone successful in your life. It could be an aunt, uncle, it could be a mentor. Ask them how they did it, how they started making decisions. By the way, this is another chapter in my book, and it's on our website, How to Pick a Championship Team. People, when they start to get out in the world, start to hire people like an accountant or an attorney, or they use a bank or something. You want to get the best people. So start surrounding yourself with these people. So then you can ask them, ask your accounting friend, who can I talk to that's going to teach me a little bit more about finance? Maybe take a course, maybe read a book. But maybe you need also personal instruction. Maybe go out and hire a financial planner or attend a financial planning course. Start to learn a little bit. I always tell people it's like learning to play tennis. If you want to play tennis, if you play it once a year, you're not going to play very well. If you play it once a month, you're not going to play very well still. But let's say you start playing tennis once a week or a couple of times a week, right? You may not be a world champion out there, but you'll play tennis a lot better. It's the same way with finance or anything that you're trying to learn. Come in contact, spend a little time on your money or finance, maybe a couple times a month, once a week, read an article. Surround yourself with someone, other people can talk to. Join a club, join an online chat room, and then learn a little bit more. But just don't think you're learning it once and that's it. You don't have great health if you exercise one day and then quit. To stay healthy, you have to keep on doing it. It's the same thing in finance. So I would say to start getting clarity, start spending a little more time in finance on your money, read articles, speak to friends, join a chat room, uh, and then surround yourself with good people to talk to.
And how would you help someone like distinguish between spending that weakens their future and spending that genuinely supports the life that they want?
I'm sorry, would you ask that question again?
Yeah, so how do you help people distinguish between spending that weakens their future and spending that genuinely supports the life that they want?
Well, what I do is I believe in showing them outcomes and consequences. I wrote an article one time called the $300,000 haircut, Warren Buffett's $300,000 haircut. And what it was is just a simple article that, and again, I may not use the exact numbers, but let's say you can get a haircut once a month or twice, once a month for $50, but there's people out there that only charge 25 or whatever it is. So $25 a month, $300 a year over a long period of time. You know, the little decisions we make have really very large consequences. So I believe in showing people consequences. You want to lease or buy a car? How much does it cost to lease? How much does it cost to buy? What's one decision that's going to be less cash flow to you? And then how much is that going to compound? How much is that going to be in like 10, 20, 30 years? Now, I deal with a lot of Gen Z people, and quite frankly, 10, 20, 30 years is like, they can't handle that. That's a long time. But you know what? Then I'll say, well, let's do a 5-year time frame. What are you trying to accomplish in 5 years? I've had Gen Zers tell me that they want to be independent from their parents. Their parents are helping them afford their apartment. So, okay, fine. I help them put together how much you earn now, how much you need to earn to escape that, and then what's the plan? What are you going to do? And I had one Gen Z recently that he saw it was a gap. I said, well, why don't you go back to your employer and say, what does my future hold here? And then the next year now, what kind of raise can I get? Or what's my future here if I improve my skills, do this or that? And he found out that they thought highly of him. They were going to give a nice promotion. Still wasn't enough to close the gap. But now he knew if he stayed there, he stood a gap, or maybe he has to go somewhere else, or maybe he has to have a side gig. So what I do is I help people like see what they need, and then say, okay, fine. All right, right now you're doing. You have a gym membership you don't use, or you have these streaming services that they're copying each other. Now let's say if you save one or two of those streaming services because you're not using them, and it's $200 a month, that's $2,400 a year. What is that over 5, 10, 15? What is it over 30 years, especially if you're in your 20s or 30 times on your side? And I showed the consequences, and people are genuinely surprised and shocked. And by the way, why do I do this? Because I was there. I didn't know that. And so I teach them what they need and then the consequences of what they're spending. And then it's up to them. If they still want to spend on those streaming services, go right ahead. You're going to work longer or have less in life. Or maybe you can do that and then you need to make it up somewhere else, like a new job or a side gig or something. I find that when people start to have, they realize they have more clarity, control around their consequences, they start making better decisions.
Yeah, absolutely. What are some of the emotional patterns you see most often when people finally look clearly at their money?
Well, I would say that when they first clearly look at their money and they realize there's not enough, whatever, it's shock, it's depressing, and they either do one of two things. They say, Al, how can I improve this? I want to improve it, or they just say, well, I'm not one of the chosen ones. I'm going to work all my life. I'll just spend whatever I want right now, and that's it. I try to convince them or try to show them that you can basically have a good life and have financial security or achieve your financial goals. But there's other kinds of guilt there's other kinds of feelings that you have to deal with when you're talking to people about money. Again, they start out by saying, they have these internal conversations. I'm not good at money. I'm not good at finance. I can't make a good decision. That's the wrong way to think. The main thing is like, how can I be better at it? Who can I be around to help me? You have to have things that way. Those are emotional decisions. So another decision is that other things that are what I call obstacles that stand in the way, again, is trust. There's a lot of people that when they're young or whatever, they do something like invest in something, they lose money. Now there's a trust issue. Who else do I trust? Who can I trust? Or else they hear about people or else another thing is, how much do I have to pay for this? Because some people don't want to pay someone for advice, or they don't like what they have to pay with investment or whatever. So there's all kinds of conversations or whatever, but the first things they're normally hit with is anxiety, stress, because they don't think they can achieve what they want in life and they can achieve what their parents had. So I show them it all comes down to basically knowing what comes in and out, the cash flow, and then making the best financial decision.
I think Kate Club describes money management as something that should feel empowering and not stressful. So how do you design a financial tool around empowerment rather than fear?
Well, for one thing, and again, our CEO rather, of the company is Amin Borman. He's a behavioral scientist. So we've done a lot of work. We had a soft launch of our app. We learned a lot from early users. And again, we aim toward the Gen Z, Gen X, audience rather. And what they told us was amazing, because in almost every generation, there are different types of personalities. I'm sure you've met these people. There's type A personalities. I'm in a hurry. Give me an answer. There's relationship.
Right.
There's other types. When people get onto an app, if you're going to have just a monolithic way of approaching them, you could lose 2/3 to half your audience because you're not speaking to them the way you want. So when we did this behavioral research, we found out there were some people that just want quick answers. There's some people that want to know more detail. There's some people that basically they're very detailed, but there's different. So when you get onto the app, we ask questions, and the questions, and we try not to overload you with questions, but it helps us get to have an idea of what profile you are, so that when we're now teaching you or taking you through budgeting or the spending part of the app and other things, we're speaking to you in a language that you understand or is more comfortable for you, more clear for you. So that's one way that we do it. Another way is with AI is, again, having a tool to where you can ask quick questions or more detailed questions with. We also, on our website, and we will have it on the app, we have a financial education library where topics like compounding, spending plans, tax savings effect, wealth building formula, which is our own proprietary way of showing you how to really plan for your wealth in the future. These are articles, and we do articles in short version and long version. Why? Some people just want a short version before they have the long one. And we haven't done this yet, but we're about to produce this next week, videos, short videos and longer videos that mirror the articles. So what we're after is we're the only personal finance app that's actually based on a proprietary wealth building system process that's been around in our company for 40 years or more. And I think what people find out there, and this is what I find in the personal financial field, is that they don't really spend a lot of time on the planning or education. They just want to give you a little bit and then say, I want to manage your money. We're not that way. We're not out to manage your money initially. In fact, we don't manage money. We just tell you how to invest. We'll guide you, but we're not investment managers on this. So you're getting from us a pure partner in educating and how can I say, and making sure you're making the best decisions all the time to live the life you want. And we think that's very powerful.
Yeah, education combined with habit building, I think definitely is the best way to look at it, and very powerful tool. What do you think is different across generations, and what remains universal in
Well,
behavior
I'm
and
older. I'm a boomer, so I understand that generation. But you understand, in my 40 or more years of dealing with people, I've dealt with all generations, and I mentor quite a few Gen Z today. I'll say that the boomers were savers, and they were more prudent in spending. I think that Gen X, which followed, I think they basically lost some of those skills, so that they had more problems, making those decisions or getting, how can I say, having the discipline around things. Um, I think the millennials changed that a bit. I think that, but they're now saving now that they're in their 40s or whatever. They didn't save as when they were younger. What Gen Z is, though, it's not surprising, but it's really good to see. Gen Z tends to not trust; is less trustworthy. They basically don't buy all the sticks and all the advertising and all the I'm going to save you stuff, and you don't have to learn anything out there that's being taught. They want to learn more. They tend to save more. They tend to be more prudent around their financial decisions, and they want to learn, which I find just refreshing. There's a lot of Gen Zs I deal with, and uh, I think that's what I see most of all here today. They're more responsible around finance, or they want to be. Sometimes they don't know what to do, and they're reaching out there, but they want to be that.
that's really insightful. Thank you. You mentioned your AI co-pilot, where kind of your decades of writing and financial knowledge could help answer people's questions. What did it feel like to see your expertise turned into like this digital guide?
I'm sorry. What do they look to see as it's being turned into this?
What did it feel like for you to have all this
Oh,
experience turned into kind of an
yeah.
AI chatbot
Well, for me, it's very
help tool?
satisfying. I'm not the best technician in today's technology. The CEO of the company is, but I know a lot about the subject, and I know deeply finance. So for me, it's very satisfying because I've written a couple of books. In fact, we're coming out with another book I'm co-authoring it with the CEO of the company. It's going to come out hopefully in a few weeks, a month. It's called Master Your Cash Flow. Let them eat cake and grow wealth too. And what it is basically it's written in a layman terms, language, very English. Everyone can follow it. And what it is basically it's an educational guide on how to make the best financial decisions. So when I see this, I feel very satisfied when people are using it. I have had people reach out to me and say, "You changed my life," or "You've helped me." I've had clients for many years who basically think that I've been a great value to their lives. So for me, having the legacy of what I've been doing or have taught for over 40 years, it's very satisfying to me. And I hope it helps hundreds of thousands, if not millions, out there.
I think there's something that's almost strange and fascinating about an AI version of a financial mentor. Well, what should AI be allowed to do in person and in personal finance, and what should human judgment remain essential?
Well, for one thing, no one can tell a human being what they want. So AI is not. You can ask AI, what should I be looking at when I'm putting together my spending plan or financial plan or whatever. But only you can determine what you want to do. AI cannot. AI can give you some tools, but it's like even if you asked our co-pilot and you said, Al, tell me what I need to spend. I can't tell you that. That's a personal choice. I've dealt with literally thousands of people in my career, and every people are couples, and everyone is different. Everyone enjoys life a different way, has certain things they want in their life, family, not travel. And so I think AI can give you principles. I think like they can tell you, well, this is the principle of compounding. This is how compounding works. They can tell you how income taxes work. They can tell you the technical parts of it. If you say, what should I have in a financial plan? Or what should I be looking at? They can guide you that way. But to say this is your financial plan or this is your spending plan, I think there's a limit because you're human and everyone decides what they want.
And how do you prevent kind of AI from becoming generic advice, especially when, like, obviously a person's situation is like emotionally or materially very different?
Well, for one thing, we are constantly beta testing with the AI with our own questions, and it has to be how I would answer. And if not, you have to go back to adjust. You have to go back and say where's that information coming from. Now, I don't know enough technical to know that, but I know uh, the people that we have in the company, they know how to go back and test those things. And so, for example, if you ask AI like, should you should you redo your car loan to this? I'll give you advice, but the thing is, it has to. I always look at how the questions are answered because I'll know if there's a problem in the Copilot itself or in the information it has, if it's answering the way that we would want them. So right now, we think we reach about a 98, 99%. If you ask a question, you would get it answered the way I want. But we're always out to cut that down, cut that margin down to 1 or 2% that is not. But you are correct; it is a danger that it becomes generic. But I think people will know what generic answers are when they start asking them versus very specific ones.
And do you see AI as democratizing financial planning, or does it still need like very strong guardrails to avoid a false kind of confidence?
AI is a tool. It's not going to self-democratize anything. It's basically going to make it more efficient. It's going to speed it up. It's going to have more information held. I don't think we should be like giving them credit for that. Now AI is going to replace a human being to basically to sit there, listen to them, gauge who they are, and have them guide them with advice. Again, see, I don't tell people what to do. If you're depending on AI to tell you what to do, that's wrong. You should depend on AI to educate you, to give you resources, and to make what you're doing more efficient. So I like to think that there's always going to be room for human thought that AI is just going to be incapable, at least at this time, of doing.
And you've worked with high net worth individuals, entrepreneurs, executives, business owners, and across all these groups, are there financial problems that appear again and again?
It's really funny, and that's a great question. I don't think I've ever been asked that question. It doesn't really matter if a person's making 50, 100,000, 200,000, $1 million a year. They all have the same issues. I have dealt with people that make 100,000 a year, and sometimes they're saving more money than people that are making $500,000. Because they all have the same issues. They don't understand finance. They don't have the spending plan. They don't know what they need, and they don't have guardrails. They don't have any rules or things to help them make financial decisions. So, in fact, I would tell you, I sat many years ago with a person. I believe he was from India, and he was visiting the United States. He was visiting his money manager. He wanted to see me, and he was worth at least $500 million. He had the same problems. He had the same problems. He didn't have enough financial knowledge. He was dependent on people, and sometimes he made poor decisions. And his challenge was that he was trying to help his children too be better financially, and he was having the same problem. So, are there people out there that are more savvy than others? Yes, but I would tell you, what has happened in our society, and from I've been all around the world, is that we do not teach financial education at all, or if we do, it's terrible. And so I would like to see, actually, in fact, with our app, we're trying to get it on college campuses. So, we're trying to have an arrangement where we can give the app free to anyone who's taking a finance course for the time they're in college, so that they can start learning some finance early, rather than Like my my CEO, he said he graduated with a double doctorate. He was just 30 years old, and he didn't know how to make a decision, financial. He had all his knowledge, but he didn't know whether he should buy or lease a car or whatever. So, um, so just because a person has a better car than you, and they're driving down the street, or lives in a bigger house, doesn't mean they don't have the same financial challenges you do.
For entrepreneurs specifically, how does business cash flow shape their personal freedom?
Well, I've dealt with a lot of entrepreneurs too, and of course, I am one. Entrepreneurs are really have ideas. They chase ideas all the time, and that's their strength. I've met very few entrepreneurs over my life that know anything about finance or cash flow. They know enough to know as long as I have money in the account, I have cash flow. But they don't project. They don't. And I was the same way. Before I got in trouble, as long as I had enough money in the account to pay payroll, I was fine. But I didn't project. I didn't see things. I didn't have good financial management. So with entrepreneurs, my message to them is that, look, it's not mainly your strength. So surround yourself with good people. Get yourself a chief financial officer. Get yourself a good accountant. Get people that's going to make up these financial statements for you, which is very important, by the way. Again, like a spending plan for a business is really their financial statement. What is their spending plan for the next year by month? What are they bringing in monthly? What's going out? They have the same issues a person would have. And like a person, if they don't watch their cash flow, their spending plan, it can get out of control. So with entrepreneurs especially, I say get some people, surround yourself with a championship team. You're the idea person, you're the vision people. Have these people be the army behind you. And by the way, that's what I did. I finally had just people that were better than me in other areas. I know finance because it's my field. But I would tell you, I'm a CPA. I hate accounting. I can't stand it. It's boring to me. If I had to be an accountant or an auditor for my life, I think I would have ended my life a long time ago. But I like the challenge of saving taxes, finding money, helping people make better financial decisions. So I left the running of the company, the financial management and the personal management, to good people so that I could do what I do best, which is basically write, get more clients in, and be a visionary and help people solve their financial issues.
How do you advise people who are outwardly successful but internally very anxious about money?
Well, for one thing, a person who is like as anxious in the inside, even though outside they don't show that about money, I say that you're not alone. There's a lot of people like you. And I'll say that what I found out about people that are like that is sometimes they find it embarrassing to admit they don't know enough about money. They're anxious about it, but they think they have to know more because outwardly they're successful. So what I say to them is, again, try to look at the conversations you're having with yourself. If you have anxiety and stress inside, there's a reason. And normally that's because you don't have clarity and you don't understand. You may be outwardly successful, but you don't understand what that is or what it could lead to. You don't know the guardrails. You don't know what it means for you. And so once you get clarity, like for example, let's say you have a lifestyle that you need $8,000 a month, and you're making $9,000. So you think to yourself, wow, I'm doing good, but you're anxious because you're not sure if is it enough? Will it be enough for the future? Am I going to be able to quit someday? Will I lose my job? Do I have any kind of money or things to fall back on in case something happens to me health-wise or an emergency? So if you have some of those thoughts going through your head, the best thing is, again, surround yourself with a person or people that's going to help you, how can I say, alleviate part of the anxiety, make more clarity. And then maybe with that, you'll have less anxiety and stress in your life.
And I think financial planning is kind of almost a form of self-knowledge, because money is often treated as very like cold, mechanical, but it also does shape identity, as you said, relationships and safety and imagination. So is it a kind of form of self-knowledge to plan your financial future?
Well, I think it's self-knowledge to a certain extent, but I think what it is that um, is having a conversation with yourself and being honest with yourself. Do you need help or not? You may be, again, successful. You may not be successful. You may not have enough money. You may have enough money. But if you're having any kind of doubts, whether it's enough or not, or all that, basically, to me, money means many things. Money can mean power to people. Money can be success to people. Not having enough can be failure to people. And people are dealing with judgments around money all the time. Is be honest with yourself. What is your judgment about it? Like, I'll tell you, like when I was a young man, I come from a poor background. I just wanted to be rich. I didn't care. Now, I didn't know how much I needed, but I kept on working 10, 12 hours a day or more, 7 days a week to be successful. But I never had a benchmark of what success meant. How much, when I reached it, was I successful? And there's a lot of people out there. Once you know the bar, and once you achieve or anywhere near that, then what happens? You can either decide to build more on that success, you can do something else in life, but unless you don't have control of the numbers, know what those benchmarks are, and know what the numbers are, it really you're going to be out there just working and not understanding why and feeling stress and whatever. And so I think clarity around whatever numbers you're making is just extremely important.
And what do you think is the relationship between financial freedom and psychological freedom?
Well, psychological freedom is something you can be at any time. You don't need to have money to do that. You can be free, man. I mean, there are people. I'm sure, like if you go to like some of the indigenous tribes that were in North America and throughout the world, they. I mean, maybe I'm being judgmental here, but they look like they were pretty free. They look like they didn't have to have more land and whatever else. In fact, they didn't even own land; they just lived on it. So I think it's psychological. You can be free at any time you want. That's a conversation you have with yourself. So people who have a lot of money are not necessarily free psychologically. Some people who have very little money are psychologically free. They're doing what they want. They enjoy what they do. So I think they're two separate things. I know for me, it was very important psychologically just to achieve, not to grow up the way I grew up. But I didn't know how much that meant. There got to a point with coaching that I became psychologically as well as financially free. And so I think that they're two different things. I think that you have to explore what it means to you. But I'll say one thing. If you finally know you've achieved a certain number of wealth, whatever that is, that you know you can quit your job, you don't have to go to work, you can do something else, start a business, take more risks. I think that's what most people judge as being financially free.
Right. And do you think financial literacy should be taught as a life skill, maybe from childhood, not just as math, but as like decision making, self-awareness, and future building?
Well, I'm old enough to remember when I was in grade school, they would teach you a little bit about money, like skills, like dollars and cents and adding up and things. They taught you some. And when you were in high school, you could take a class, and there were some classes I took. They actually showed you how to make out a check, how to open up a bank account. But you rarely see that.
Yeah.
So basically, now you go to college. College at one time, when I was in college too, they used to teach you, sir. I had a financial professor who made everyone stop one day and said, write out a check. And he showed us how silly and stupid and how erroneous we were doing it. I don't fill out many more checks today at hand, but I still fill them out if I have to do by hand the same way he taught me. So I personally think that financial education begins in grade school. And by the way, in the home, give your child an allowance. Have them start spending and maybe open up a little account for them for when they get gift money so they know what they have. That's what happened when I was a kid. I had to create a Christmas club account when I was about 12 or 13 to buy gifts for Christmas with this club. Um, I think that I most definitely think by the time you get to high school, it should be there. It should be a class. There should be a personal financial class on basics. Basically, opening a bank account, how to get a car loan. What does it mean? Putting together a spending plan. Very simple. And I think that if you started doing that and then made it another course mandatory in college or in trade school, I think that you would raise the level of awareness. I think because of the lack of education, and it's got worse for Gen Z, is there's so much stress and anxiety out there because they don't know what they're doing. They don't know how to make decisions. And so anything that's going to give you a little more leeway, a little more advantage when you get out in the world, I think it's important.
And your message seems to be don't postpone life until retirement, but don't sacrifice your future either. How do we learn to live that balance?
Well, the thing is, my message is that you may have stress and anxiety. You may not know where to begin. You may feel overwhelmed. Just take the first step. Get on a chat thing, read something, ask for help. You're not alone. Almost everyone feels the same way at your age. Do that, but don't let people tell you the way to construct your life is by depriving yourself of how to live just to get there. I would tell couples when they came in to see me, young couples, I can get you to financial independence really fast, 10, 20 years. Don't have kids, don't have a car, don't have a house, don't take vacations. I can get you there, but will you be speaking to each other? Will you be happy? Learn what balances to you. Learn what money's coming in for you, what you have to have, and what balance means to you. And then get help. Ask people for help on how to find out if it's enough and educate yourself more.
Is there one question that you wish more people asked about money?
I don't think there's one question. Maybe one question would be, how should I think about money? How should I think about it? Most people don't know they have this 24/7 lousy conversation in their head. So rather than let your mind control how you do things, learn to control asking yourself, learn to control yourself with the conversation you have with yourself about money. If you ever find yourself saying, I'm not good with money, I'm not a financial person, I'm not a business related, whatever, understand that it's question it. Just question it, because if you have the same if you have another conversation like, I'm not good with money, but I'm going to learn. I see that John across the way in Town really knows a lot about money. I'm going to talk to him. I'm determined to get my spending to know what I need and to live the life I want. Have a better conversation with yourself. So the one question I would have is, what kind of conversation are you having around money or finance?
And what does having your cake and eating it too mean in financial terms?
Okay. We played around with that, and in fact, we asked Gen Z through our what they thought about it. They like little playful things. And what it is that, obviously it's based in history, where Marie Antoinette, when told about the starving people in Paris, they couldn't get bread, she said, we'll let them eat cake. What it means is to us, it means let them eat cake as well as, becoming, achieving your financial goals. In other words, live the life you want. Don't deprive yourself of life. Have cake along the way too.
Yeah, it's funny because in France it was like we took outrage at this sentiment from Marie Antoinette, whereas, yeah, it's being used in the sense of being able to eat it too and have it distributed, I suppose.
Well, yes, there was outrage because she was eating the cake and they weren't. But what we're trying to say is that, well, you can eat cake too.
And what legacy do you want this next chapter? The books, Cake Club, Ask Albert, and your financial education work to leave behind?
I want more people to understand and learn that money is not this amorphous thing out there, and should not be like be an obstacle to overcome. Is that with some little education, some time by you, you can do what I did: is find out. You can get your life under control and clarity. You live the life the way you want to live the way, and you can have a time in the future that you don't have to work or do something else if that's important to you. But it's basically to always make the best financial decision possible, so that you don't get into trouble, so that you're always avoiding some of the disastrous things that people have when certain things occur in their life. I would like more. My legacy, I would like to be where people, as they grow older and they look upon the education that we gave them in Cake Club, they said, "Wow, I was glad I downloaded that. I was glad I went to that website." That's what I want them to do. That's what I want them to say.
And if we could leave the audience with one financial decision that they can make this week that would immediately increase clarity, what is that financial decision?
The basics: know what comes in, know what goes out. Look at your checkbook. At the beginning of the month, during the month, what came in cash flow, what went out. Was it positive or negative? If it was positive, good for you. Then what'd you do with the excess? If it's negative, go back and see why. If you start doing that, you start to get clarity around the basic things in good cash flow management, which is how much do you have? How much is coming in, going out? That's what I would do.
Thank you so much, Al. Thank you for helping people with their financial freedom.
Well, I appreciate it. Thank you for a great podcast, and
I appreciate you coming on the show.
Had a good time. Thank you.